good way to sit. By now you should know what that means, right? Don't sit in pain. If cross-legged doesn't feel good for you, just don't do it. Definitely sit up on a block, on a blanket, or anything like that if that feels better for your hips and your knees. So lots and lots of options, but you should never be in pain. And I know it's tricky when we have injuries, wrists or knees or things like that, but you should always just try to be mindful of what we're doing to our bodies, because hopefully yoga is healing our bodies, keeping us strong, keeping us healthy, flexible, and not doing damage. So that should go without saying, right, Betty? Yeah. All right, so let's sit up nice and tall. And good morning, everybody. Take the shoulders up to your ears, and then squeeze them back and let them come down. Good, 2 more right here. Squeeze them up, squeeze them back in, let them down. 1 more time, squeeze them up, squeeze them back, and let them come down. And then just find a soft way for the shoulders to be. No reaching, right? No pulling, just nice and soft. Ideally, elbows right at your side body. And then maybe close the eyes. Let's start to get centered on our mats so that we can move through our practice from the very present moment. Just start to check in with your breath. And once you have snuggled into your mat and found a good way to sit for a little bit, take one hand to the low belly and take the other hand to your chest. And then just let the elbows be heavy so you're not feeling like you're holding your arms in place. And then as you breathe, first feel the bottom hand, the belly, press out. So you're filling up from lower to upper, the belly, the upper belly, and then the chest. So as you inhale, move through all the way up to the chest, the collarbones, and as you exhale, soften the collarbones, the chest, then the lower middle belly, and then the lower belly. So 3-part breath, or Dirga Pranayama. We start, it's not really a staggered low, middle, upper, but it's a conscious filling, like a belly breath, and then that mid upper belly, and then the lungs fill. Maybe a pause at the top of the breath, and then that exhale, chest, mid belly, lower belly pressing in toward your spine. Try to relax the arms, shoulders. As you expand your lungs, as you breathe, try not to strain through this breath, but softly bring it in and let it go. All of the breath practices, all the pranayama in yoga is meant to help us center different breathing techniques for different reasons. This one, very balancing, but also designed to increase the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Our relax and digest, our calming nervous system. So just take it in and let it go. Good. Stay here if you can. 2 more rounds right here. Full inhales, full exhales. Last one. And then release those hands and roll the shoulders. Just nice and easy a few times, one direction. And then the other direction. Good. And then hands out to your sides. Inhale, big deep breath. Exhale, bring it right to your heart. Good. And again, inhale, take it up. Exhale, drop it down. Last one, keep the arms up. Inhale, up. Interlace those hands, press it all the way up. Exhale, curl it into your belly, and then take it up. Exhale, curl it in. Good, 3 more. Take it up, warming up the upper body, deepening the breath. Good, and reach. Exhale, squeeze. Good, last one, take it up. Exhale, squeeze it in. And let it go. Take your left hand to the mat, reach the right arm up. And release like a little windshield wiper, just drop right hand, reach the left, and slowly, very much on purpose, just keep on going, warming up side body, right? Warming up shoulders, arms, good, couple more. Left side, right side. Breathe, last set right here, left side. And right side. Good, and both arms up, twist everything to your left. Take the hands down, come into a nice, easy twist. Roll both shoulders away from each other. And notice the twist, right? We worked a lot on waist and twist a few classes ago. So just notice the musculature that is involved in twisting to that side, and then keep the twist, but turn the head over to the right shoulder. Breathe. If you cannot take a reasonably good breath, you are twisting too deep. And then take the head back over to the left, release those hands, inhale up. Exhale, take it to the right, hands come down again, both shoulders move away as we work on this side of our bodies. Notice any excess, unnecessary tension, right? And then when you're ready, turn the head so it's looking over your left shoulder. Maybe you reach the eyes around as well, so we work with the eyes. Breathe, and then take the head back over the right shoulder. Inhale, take it up. Exhale, make it nice and long, take it all the way down. Good, roll your shoulders, and then straighten out those legs. Good, just lean back on your hands as long as you're not collapsing into your chest. Keep the chest nice and tall. Maybe point and flex your feet. Maybe do nice big circles one way, and then the other way. And then grab your strap. You should have your strap, have your strap, and take your left leg into Janu Sirsasana, or single leg forward fold. So your left knee is out to the side. If that doesn't feel good, walk the leg out until you have no compressive pain in the knee. You can also take one block under your knee, which is a really lovely way to practice the pose so that the inner left thigh kind of moves out of the picture and we focus on the right hamstring. So grab your strap, just take that loop and wrap it around your foot, however big that loop up is fine, or grab further up on the strap. What I want you to do is roll your shoulders back. Good, so I'm just it's almost like if you would think of like at the game, right, that tug of war, I'm kind of pulling back on the strap at the same time I'm pushing away with my foot to create some tension. Shoulders are down, shoulder blades move toward each other, so I'm not rounding my upper back. Good, I'm just kind of checking it out. And then that right foot, act like it's a gas pedal. So start to point that ball mound and then flex it. And then point it toward the front and flex. Good, one more time. Point and flex. Good, and then hold on to that strap with your right hand. Take the left arm up and breathe. And then see if you can kind of square your shoulders to the front of the room and start to come forward. Now I'm pulling on this right side, right? I'm pulling that strap back. You can see my elbow starting to bend to my side, even as my left arm starts to come forward, and maybe you're starting to feel a sweet little stretch of that hamstring. Let the left hand come down wherever it is, and then play with the idea of the right leg. Starting to stretch a little bit more. Maybe you notice the hips. Maybe you start to notice the little shift, the right hip drawing back, the left hip drawing forward. Maybe you come down a little bit more on the strap. Now, some of you easily can grab your foot. I'm going to ask you to avoid that or try to resist that, because I want the tension on the strap so that the hamstring gets a little bit more stretch. So we kind of figure out where we are, how we feel here. Easy, easy, soft. Remember, a block under the knee would be very appropriate for you right now. Oh, good. Maybe you're coming down a little bit lower, maybe not, right? So depending on the fibers of the muscles of your hamstrings, you're either nose to knee or you're sitting pretty straight up or somewhere in between. It's all good. It's all on purpose, so hang in there with your individual wonderful body. Big deep breath. Good, and slowly release. Come on up. Lift your left leg and straighten that baby out. Switch the loop over to the other foot. Pause for a second to stretch out that leg. And then when you're ready, switch sides. So right foot goes into left thigh, left inner thigh, or down the leg until it doesn't hurt. You can even put it out to the side if that knee compressed is too much. And then feel the hips kind of get nice and level. Pull back on that strap. It's like, whoa, Betsy, right? We're just gonna pull back, and at the same time, we're gonna press the foot into the strap. Roll those shoulders back, a little squeeze of the shoulder blades, and then kind of point and flex. I mean, sometimes this works easily. Sometimes the strap just kind of slides up and down the foot and it's not as effective. That's okay. Just hang in there with it. Breathe, point, big flex, maybe one more. Good, and then draw that strap nice and taut. Hold on to it with the left hand, reach the right arm up. Good, say hello to your fingers, right? They tend to get a little too overextended in yoga. Draw the left shoulder back, start to bend that left elbow. Come on forward a little bit. Check out what's happening in the left hamstring. Ooh, yeah. Notice if your left foot, I didn't say this on the other side, but notice if that foot's really kind of sickling in. And if it is, try to press the big toe mound away from you. Let the right hand come to the floor. And then start to play with the pose. Can I square the shoulders? Can I keep the left leg grounded? Big deep breath. Maybe that hand walks down the strap a little bit more. Maybe we start to come down a little bit lower. Notice in your individual body which side is a little tighter, a little looser, right? But don't force. It's an interesting thing, right? The mechanism is this big, tall, lengthy motion over the leg, not a rounded C curled up pattern. Good, breathe. One more nice deep breath right here. And slide yourself up, release the strap, straighten that leg. Ooh, shake it out. And breathe. Good, and then come back into it one more time, left side. This time don't use the loop part, use the whole strap part, so you have a strap in each hand. Maybe take a block under the knee just to let it feel good. And then the strap fairly level. I want you to pull back on the strap, and I want you to sit as tall as possible, almost to the point of lifting that foot off the floor. Like that much you're pulling back on the strap. Watch the fingers if that really hurts. You know, try to soften that up a little bit. But draw the shoulder blades together, elbows at your side body, pressing back toward the back, toward behind you, right? Chest is nice and open, lift tall. And then as if somebody were pulling you from your belly button. I want that to move forward, right? Obviously the whole torso is gonna move forward, but I want you to see if you can find it from the belly button. And when you feel the stretch in that right hamstring, right leg, right, notice and just pause. You're pulling on the strap. The belly button is trying to lead the way. In other words, those hips are tilting forward, right? The pelvis. Breathe. Don't be tempted to go all the way down to that leg, even though I know some of you can. I want you to stay tall in the pose and pretend that you could lay, right, that right side belly on your thigh without losing all of the alignment. Keep squeezing through the shoulder blades. And release it and come up. Now hold on to the strap, grab it nice and close to the foot, bend your knee, and take that leg up to the ceiling. Hold on to the strap, take your left arm up if you can. Feel your left foot pressing into the floor, there's your balance. In fact, squeeze the left glute and notice. And then maybe just rock a little side to side. You could do the wave if you want, right? It doesn't matter. Just feel what happens as you take the leg out, as you take the leg over. Good, and then bring everything back to center. Really lift up, really lift up, really lift up. And then slowly, slowly, slowly lower the leg. Don't let it just flop down. Good, release the strap from that side. Take your left foot up, straighten that leg. Switch the strap so it's around your left foot. Make sure you've got a strap in each hand so that the shoulders can stay wide, and then bring the right foot, right leg into Janu Sirsasana. Roll the shoulders back. Feel the shoulder blades draw toward each other, pull back. So much so, right, that you could lift that foot off the floor. And then see how tall your torso can get without lifting your chin. Sometimes I'll mention to a student to lift their chest, and all that lifts is their chin. I know. I shouldn't laugh, but I know they're connected, but we should be able to lift right here, right there without the chin being involved, right? So we train those muscles. All right, so I know everybody's pulling. I'm sitting here jibber jabbering. Everybody breathe. Maybe walk the hands a little bit further, but I want you to pull. Resist the urge to come down to your toes. Start to feel the belly button leading the way. It's an interesting point of reference, because if I feel like somebody's pulling the belly button, I'm gonna not curve in. I'm not gonna curl in and lose the spinal work here, right? The back body work, the hamstring work. Big deep breath. And come on up. Grab the strap with your left hand, bend your left knee, grab up nice and tall with that strap, and lift the leg up, take the right arm up, press down through the right foot, right leg, and breathe. And then maybe take it out, maybe take it across, and out, and across. You can add the wave, right? We'll do interpretive dance here, and breathe. Oh, yeah, right? So again, notice which side is tighter. Bring everything back to the center. Lift up super tall, and then slowly lower that leg all the way to the floor. Release your strap, set it aside, straighten out your leg. Just lean back and point flex your feet. Good. And then grab your block. I like it the second width. I think that wide width is a little too far. The narrow is a little too narrow. So take it at the middle width, you'll know, right between your knees, and then lean back, but don't collapse. Keep the chest and the torso lifted, and squeeze your block. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. 10, 9, 8, 7, keep squeezing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the squeeze, not the block. Good, and squeeze again. This time, think not just squeezing the knees, but squeeze the inner thighs. Breathe, keep the chest from collapsing. Hang in there, right? Breathe, almost done. And release the squeeze. Good, 3 more right here. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I cannot tell you how effective, how good these exercises are. This one and the strap one we'll do next. Many of you have done this with me before, but not everybody. To strengthen the inner thighs on this one and balance the hips. Good, I hope you're still squeezing. What about those inner thighs? And release. 2 more. Squeeze in for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Oh, good. Last one. Don't let the chest collapse. In fact, bring that belly button, squeeze everybody, bring the belly button toward the block. Oh, right? So really get a nice tilt of the hips without hurting the lower back. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And let go. Nice job. Take that block out from your legs, grab your strap. So hopefully you had your strap in a loop. The loop is going to be hips width apart, and really, generally speaking, a little less than that. So when I walk my feet out of roughly that hip bone apart, you want the strap above the knees, maybe 2 inches or so above the knees. I'll turn to the side so maybe you can see where it is. You want it about 2 inches above the knees, and you want it tight enough that you have good purchase on it when your knees and feet are hips width apart. Once again, lean back, lift your chest, and press against the strap. And breathe for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the press out and breathe. Good, and again, I want you to press out. Now, once again, I want you to think about it. This time, we're not really working inner thighs, we're working outer thighs. So instead of just focusing on this press of the strap, I want you to focus, if you're not already, on those outer hips, outer thighs. Breathe. Keep it going, and release. Good, 3 more. Squeeze out and press, lift your chest. Right, so if you want, let go of the hands, maybe you take them up, or maybe you just take them to your knees. If they're not on the floor, you have to work core more, right, to stay slightly leaned back. Oh, that was probably more than 10, release. Good, 2 more, press them out. It should feel like you could take those legs apart. You're pressing a fairly decent amount on those straps. If it's too much, lessen the press. Breathe. Remember, hands off the floor, a little bit more core work, a little lean back, a little more core work. And let go. Ooh, this one is always harder for me. I feel that outer hip, outer glute work way harder. All right, last one. Let's just get it over with. Ooh, breathe, everybody. Maybe lean back, maybe count it with me. 10, 9, 8, keep pressing. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew, and release. Now those two exercises, you can do that laying down, sitting in a chair. They're awesome. Really, really awesome. Good, so take your feet to the front of your mat. Come on down just for a second. I want you to draw both knees to chest and breathe. And then just rock. right? So when you rock, bring the knees toward your chest, you're really rounding your back, and then press the knees away to arch. So a little funky cat and cow here, just arching and then curling. One more, and breathe. And then put your right foot on the floor, take your left leg up, take the hands behind your knee, and bend and straighten up. Good. Just 5 of these, just simple. Hamstrings should feel fairly open already. Good. Last one, take it straight up. Externally rotate, bring yourself to figure 4. Your left ankle to your right knee, bring both knees toward your chest. And rock side to side. So we're going to be working on reverse triangle today. And what I've noticed in playing with it, not only is it a challenging balance pose, but oddly, it requires some opening of this outer hip that we're stretching right now in order to really get there. So we're just going to play with this idea of stretching out that outer hip. Now, next time you have rocked over toward the right, not too far because you don't want to tip over. I just want you to pause. You'll feel a deeper stretch in that if you want to take the arms out to the sides to support you so you don't tip all the way over, go ahead and do that. Now, squeeze your belly and keep going until your left foot is on the floor. Good. Relax your right foot to the floor. You don't need to let that hover. And just breathe. So nice little twist. Your whole upper back is on the floor or close. Your left shoulder nice and wide open. Find the breath here. Good, and then push off your bottom foot. Push off your right foot to lift those knees back up. Put your right foot back on the floor, release your left foot, straighten it all the way up to the sky. And if you can, without hands, I just want you to go out and in a little bit. Your other knee can counterbalance. So as if you were crossing legs and then opening them. If that is way too much, use your hands to support that leg or your strap. Good, couple more. Your knee can be bent. Oh yeah, feel that outer hip, everybody? Good, and then bring the leg straight up, bend that knee, place that foot on the floor, take your right leg up, hands come behind your knee, and just a couple, maybe 5 of these, bend knee, and then straighten. Notice how the hamstrings feel. That Janu Sirsasana is such a great hamstring opener that they probably feel pretty good right now. Good, straighten it out, unless they never feel good, right? Externally rotate the right leg, bring that foot to your knee, figure 4, bring both knees toward your chest. By the way, again, right, tight hips, this might be way too much for you. If that foot on the floor is better, go ahead and do that. If you're new to yoga, right, maybe you're taking it just off of your edge, off a notch or 2 so that you're not overdoing, as I've learned yet again this week. Rock side to side if you're not already. And then start to tilt toward the left. Pause there for a moment. Looks like I'm going to hit the wall. Good. Pause and just see if you can find a little extra stretch in that right hip. And then slowly, 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 with control, let that foot come to the floor. Relax your left foot to the floor. And just pause. Nice, easy twist here. Easy for most, anyway. Find your breath. Nice, deep breath. Doesn't that feel good? Good. Push off your left foot to bring your knees back to center. Good, release that right leg, straighten it up to the sky, reach it all the way down to the floor, and then bend both knees. Good, rock yourself or roll over and come all the way up again. I forgot the little, all right, that's all right, we'll come back to it. I knew there go to something else. Good, so come to table pose, everybody. Spread through the fingers now. Wrist issues, if you want. In fact, why don't we all just come down to elbows for a change. Interlace your fingers. Come on down to your elbows. Your elbows are shoulders width apart. Your knees are under your hips. So if you're feeling a little curled up there, walk the knees back a little bit. And then press your right foot back. Squeeze the heck out of your belly. Lengthen your tailbone. Lift that leg up. And notice how that feels in your body. So one, stay right here. Two, uninterlace your fingers and take the palms straight out from your elbows. So more like a sphinx pose. And notice that. So then once again, stay there or lift your left elbow and walk your fingers out in front of you so that you're on your fingertips on the left side. So a little interesting balancing table, down on elbows. Keep squeezing your belly. Squeeze that right leg. Maybe lift the left hand completely off the floor. Whew. Haven't done this one in a while. And lower down. Lower that knee. Maybe scoot back a little and stretch out everything. And come on up. Good, back to elbows, back to those soft fingers. Interlace, press your left leg back, squeeze your belly in. Try to lengthen through your whole back body. Lift that leg when you're ready and just see where you can find this line. Press out of the shoulders, by the way. Press into the forearms. One, stay here. Two, open those hands up so that you're more sphinx pose. Stay here or walk the fingertips out. Keep squeezing that left leg. Lift the hand if that makes sense. Working with that left shoulder. Good. Find your breath. And lower down. And lower down. And maybe stretch back for a little puppy stretch or a little long arm child's pose. Good, and come on up. Plant the hands. The hands can be a little further away than your wrists, or than your shoulders. Press your right leg back, lift it up, and step it across your left knee, your left leg, and look back at it. Just stretch out that side. And notice again, right, this gorgeous stretch through the whole right side, ribs, hips. Breathe. And then a little bit of core work here. You're going to release, take elbow to knee or knee to elbow, and then cross it over again and tap your toes. Good. For 4 more, squeeze it in and cross it over. Squeeze it in, cross over. And this is 2. Cross it over. Last one, cross. Hold right here. Listen up. 1, stay here. 2, release the left hand and breathe. Little bit of balance. And let that hand come down. Lift your right leg. Set that knee back down. Curl out those wrists if they're chatty. Take the left leg back. Lift it up. Step it over. Lean and look back at that foot, really stretching out the left hip, the left ribs. Big deep breath. And then the same thing on this side, knee to elbow, and back across. And knee to elbow. Ooh, yeah. That's 2, 3, and 4, and 5. And hold, stretching it across, planting the left hand, reaching the right. Squeeze your belly. And release that hand, release your knees. Take the knees nice and wide. Go ahead and sit back for a moment. Little bit of child's pose. Watch the knees here. And come on up. Good, from table pose to downward facing dog. Take your hands nice and wide on your mat, ideally index fingers pointing straight ahead. If that doesn't feel good, try index fingers. Pedal the feet, bend one knee and then the other, stretch it out. Wiggle the hips a little bit. Oh yeah. And breathe. And then take it to center, and as best you can, lift those hips high and start to tippy-toe your feet forward. There's going to be a point at which you have to bend your knees, most of you, but resist it until your feet aren't coming up anymore. And then soften down the hands and take that forward fold. And just breathe. Let the head hang, let the neck hang, squeeze a little bit through your belly just to support your low back. If you know this forward fold isn't as good for you as it could be, take it to halfway, hands to shins. Breathe. And then bend your knees. Take your hands all the way to your knees. And come on up. Whew. And find that equilibrium, just like, whew. Right, let that blood get back out from your body. Grab one of your blocks, take it between your knees this time, or take it between your thighs. Narrow width is normally the most appropriate, and then parallel your feet so they're forward. Inhale, reach out. Exhale, hands to heart. Come on down, little chair pose. Breathe, adjust as you need to, and then just start to think about this, right? A little squeeze of the block, not a whole lot. Lift of the chest, lengthening of the tailbone. Arms come up. Arms are not necessary, by the way. Breathe as we give that block a little squeeze, working through our core. As you exhale, drop down, arms come back and up. And then lift up, 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 stand all the way up. Exhale, chair. I don't know what this is, but it's like a skier, right? Going down a big mountain. Inhale, reach up. Pressing into your feet. Good, down, chair. Down all the way. Skier, we just made it a new pose. Lift up. Good, two more. Hold. You got this. Try to make sure you can see your feet in chair pose. Drop lower, reach back. Inhale all the way up. And last one. Breathe. How's that chair pose feeling? Big deep breath. Nice straight arms, shoulder blades engaged. Drop low. Reach back. And take it all the way up to standing. And exhale. Take your block out and just set it in front of you. And then watch your balance. Cross your left foot over your right, so your knees are crossed. And here's the interesting thing about this pose. We're going to be stretching this back leg, but you want to be careful not to hyperextend the back knee. So press your back knee into the leg, into your front leg a little bit. Hands come to hips. And I want you to hinge down until either your hands come to your block, or if you have the flexibility, your hands come to the floor. Make sure your back leg is not hyperextending. Press the back knee into your back front leg gently. Just keep it open. And notice that lovely little stretch. Big deep breath. Notice. Good. And then lift your chest, hands to hips. Press your legs into each other to come up. Good. Undo. And redo. Right leg in front, left leg in back. You're stepping over. Be careful if you're near a wall, please. One hand to the wall. This is surprisingly a tricky little thing. Hinge from your hips. Come on down. Keep the back knee pressing gently into the front leg. And check it out on this side. Like, are you feeling this right here, right? That little left side hip. Shoulders stay wide, head is just hanging here. A block is certainly appropriate. Makes that stretch a little less intense. Breathe. And then press those knees into each other. Lift up, hands to hips, take it all the way up. And undo and shake it out. Good, if that was okay for you, we're gonna just try a little bit of kind of balanced movement. If you wanna stay near a wall, that's okay. So we're gonna start on the left side of our mat. Hands to hips, step out right leg. When you step in left leg, I want you to cross and stretch. Ooh, come up. Step out left leg, cross with your right. Come on down. Oh yeah. Come on up. Open and cross. Come on down. Ooh. Come up. Open. Cross. Come on down. Okay, I think you're getting it. So come on up. If this is not happening, just come into a still stretch. And let it and hang out there. And then switch. Good. We got one more both sides. Little dynamic movement, as they call it. Take it open. Whoo. And down. And come on up. And release it. And feel those outer hips. All right, come on back. And bring your blocks to the front of your mat. Come to the front of your mat. Inhale, reach up. Exhale all the way down. So you never know what you're gonna get when you take this class. Good. Soften your knees, step back, right leg. Lower your right knee to the floor. Take the blocks and put your hands on your blocks and start to lift up into a nice sweet little lunge. Right hip, right leg, nice and active. Now here's what I want you to do, is imagine squeezing the legs toward each other. Imagine that you could have a block between those legs that allows you to squeeze that block a little bit, okay? That's what we're looking for, because when we get to reverse triangle, and we will eventually, you've got to be able to draw the legs isometrically toward each other. So inhale, reach the arms up. Breathe. Take the arms out to cactus. Bring the elbows in, squeeze. And as you squeeze the arms in, pretend you're squeezing the legs in. And open up. Good. Squeeze in. And open. Squeeze in. Woo. And open. Two more. Squeeze in. Legs two. Open. Last one. Squeeze it in. And open. And let go. Hands to blocks if you have them. If not, hands to the floor. Lift your knee off the floor. And then drop your back foot to the side position, just so you can wiggle around your left hip. Let me turn around, because I know this is weird. So we're here, and you're just kind of wiggling this hip side to side, right? As you breathe, you're just kind of trying to find some opening. And then the next time that hip is in alignment, right, we draw that right or that left hip back. Our hands are on the blocks or on the floor. Breathe, straighten your back leg and begin to straighten your front leg. So straightening the back leg means you're not turned to the side anymore. You're on the ball now with your back foot. You're pressing in. Just gonna move this block out of the way so you can see if you're looking. Now, squeeze the legs toward each other isometrically. Yeah, right? And these blocks, by the way, can be higher. They can be lower. Breathe. So as you squeeze the inner left thigh toward the right, Notice what happens to the big toe mound on your left side. It should feel like it's pressing a little more evenly, a little more actively to the floor. Yeah, good. Then bend your front knee. If your blocks happen to be up high, maybe set them off to the side. Step back, downward facing dog. Pedal your feet. Check your hands. Whew. And then look through those hands. Step forward, right leg. Lower your left knee to the floor. Take your hands to your blocks. And start out just in a nice easy lunge. Right, maybe we're checking out the hips here. As we breathe, left glute, left leg active. That's it. And then walk your hands to your knee. Take those arms out to cactus, and the same thing, because I want that visual for you of when you squeeze those arms together, try to squeeze the legs together. And then open it back up. Good, squeeze it in, and open it out. And 3, squeeze the legs towards each other, and out. And 4, right, all isometric work. And 5, squeeze them together, woo, and open them. And then let those hands come back to your blocks. Flip your toes under, come to a high lunge. So high lunge is a great way to just get your spacing. And then drop your back foot to the side, your front knee is bent, just so you can wiggle that right hip around a little. It's kind of an interesting thing, and you don't even have to keep your back foot where it is. You can just wiggle it around and question what's happening in your hip. And then take it all back to center. Your back foot is on the ball mound. Your belly is toned. Straighten your front leg. Long pyramid pose here. Squeeze the legs toward each other. Notice the right side big toe mound just press down into the floor. Don't hyperextend the front knee. Lengthen your torso. Don't worry about taking it low. In fact, maybe you take it high so that you can work on drawing those legs toward each other. Big deep breath. And then bend your front knee. Set your blocks to the side. Step back, downward facing dog. Pedal it out. And then lift those hips as high as you can and tippy toe your feet back up to your hands. Keep the legs as straight as you can for as long as you can. And then bend your knees. And come on. And shake it out. Breathe. Notice. So how did that feel for you? So we're getting our way there. We're going to take a shorter pyramid pose. So your blocks once again are on your mat where they would normally be. Do me a favor, take your left foot forward and step back. It's kind of a 2/3 step back with your back foot. Your heel is on the floor ideally. Your toes are pointed mostly forward, your back toes. But they're slightly angled, they're slightly to the side. And then hands to hips as we start to draw the hips toward the short edge of our mat. Tone in through your belly. And just notice, right, big, long, open chest. Now, right here, squeeze the legs. Woo! Squeeze the legs toward each other. Maybe lift the toes of your front foot so that you can really press into the ball mound and squeeze the legs toward each other. Breathe. Inhale, reach the arms up. I want you to take your left hand to your left hip. Bend from your hips, that deep hip crease, and reach the right arm forward. Woo! Breathe, breathe, breathe. Imagine that you're Chin's gonna land at the front of your mat, and then take your hands to your blocks. Now, if your legs are too narrow, you'll be like you're on a tightrope. That's not a whole lot of fun. Your hips, your legs are roughly hips width apart. If even that feels a little funky, go wider still and see how that feels. And even if you've always done pyramid pose the same way, this is also called intense side stretch. Maybe take the legs a little differently. Now, check out your big toe, right? I don't know about you, but on me, my foot always wants to roll out. So instead, I want you to squeeze the inner thighs toward each other and notice that it grounds that front big toe, and then you can let the toes come down. Ooh. And then maybe you can peel your belly down toward your leg. Say hello to those lovely hamstrings. Where do you feel them? Breathe. And then bend your front knee, listen up. I want you to step back just a little bit more, but the foot stays angled the same. Lengthen your tailbone. Take one hand to the knee, take the other hand to the knee. Keep your front knee bent. As you lift your torso, take the arms up, warrior one. And breathe. Good. Exhale carefully, hands to hips, push off to step forward. Oh. Good. Switch sides. Just step back. Left leg. It's not a huge step back. Toes are pointing more forward than they are to the side. And by the way, if this is super hard on your ankle for any reason, you can go to the ball mount. It's a variation of that pose. And then hands to hips, straighten your front leg, don't hyperextend. Squeeze the legs toward each other and feel the inner line of your right leg start to ground toward the floor. Breathe. Leave your right hand where it is, take the left arm up. Squeeze those legs toward each other, hinge from your hip. Deep hinge in that right hip socket. Yep. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And then release those hands to the blocks, to your floor. If you don't have blocks and you can't reach the floor, go to your shin. I should have said that on the other side. Better late than never, right? So breathe and then maybe play with the width of your legs. Maybe play with your back foot. Press into the back foot as that outer heel as if it just got stuck in a pile of glue, right? It's like, oh, there it is. Now it's really there. Squeeze the inner thighs toward each other. Start to peel the belly over the leg without force. Elbows down toward the floor. Head starts to lengthen with the rest of your spine. Press into the back leg. Squeeze into the inner thighs. Lengthen into the big toe mound on the front leg. Woo, good. And bend that back leg. Maybe scoot that back, bend the front leg, scoot the back leg back just a hair. Start to lengthen the torso. Hands to knee, find your stability. Lift your chest. Inhale the arms up. Warrior one. Ah, there it is. Release your hands, push off, step forward, and shake it out. Just bend one knee and then the other. A lot of quad work there. It can get really easy to hyperextend through these poses, so I ask those of you who I know, you know, to be mindful of not locking out the knees completely. Good, just take your feet hips width apart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Soften the knees a whole bunch and just feel the hamstrings, the attachment in the sit bones. Lift up. Big deep breath. Good. Nice bend of your knees, everybody. Hands to knees. Lift your chest. Roll the shoulders. Chair pose. No block. And breathe. So chair pose, you're so heavy in those heels, you could lift your toes, but don't. Breathe, belly squeezes in, tailbone gets long, take the arms out. Breathe, turn the palms down, reach the hands behind, woo, fly through the air, and inhale it all the way up. Exhale, release. Good, roll it out. All right, so let's do one more thing before we do reverse triangle. Take your left foot forward, your right foot back. If you can, you start in a nice high lunge, and then eventually bring your hands to your blocks. And because we didn't set up for high lunge, I didn't want to stay there for too long. You really only need a block under your right hand. So check your front knee alignment, front knee to front ankle. Your right hand is on your block. It can be low or medium. Take your left hand to your knee, your left knee, and twist to the left. And as soon as you do that, notice 1, the back foot, keep that leg super active. 2, squeeze the legs toward each other. Good, only take the left arm up if that makes sense for you. Nice lunge twist here. It's just a super sweet pose. But notice that the twist has to come right from those ribs, pressing back through the back leg, keeping the front leg strong, and bring those inner thighs toward each other isometrically. Oh, good. And then release it. Take your hand to your other block, hopefully you have it, or the floor. Straighten your front leg. So we're back in this really wild, long pyramid pose. Right hand to the block. Squeeze the legs towards each other. Hand to that left hip. Roll the hips open. Yeah, variation of reverse triangle. Arm up. So when we go really long here and the back foot is straight, it's a different pose, but you're still challenging your balance. So squeeze those legs together. And release it. Good, if your blocks are on low, just step back and step forward. Otherwise, hands off blocks to transition. Right foot's forward, left foot's back. Super strong pose. Your hand goes on, your left hand goes to your block. Your right hand goes to your hip. You open it up and then squeeze the legs isometrically. Take the right arm up and breathe. Kind of settle into the pose, like you're keeping it alert, right? You're keeping this pose active, but you're not overstepping it. You're kind of relaxing into the pose even as you do it. Squeeze those thighs toward each other. Ground your big toe at the front. Exhale that hand to the floor. Yeah. And then straighten your front leg, but keep your back foot straight. 2, don't let it drop to the side. Roll your shoulders back, super long. Pyramid pose, breathe, press into your big toe mound. Now squeeze the thighs toward each other. Left hand where it is, somewhere on your block. It can be low, it can be medium, higher is easier. Make sure it's stable, don't take it all the way up. And take your right arm up to the sky. Squeeze the inner thighs toward each other. Woo! And release it. Holy moly, step back. Lower your knees. And come into a little child's pose. Or hero pose, if that feels good, or an easy seated pose, whatever feels good. Not walk out the door pose. Stay here. Just breathe. So hopefully, as we get ready for a reverse triangle, you're sensing the value of squeezing those inner thighs toward each other, squeezing the legs toward each other isometrically. as a stabilizing move for these more tricky poses. So that's kind of what we've been playing with all class. All right, I know you're ready. You are anxious. You're excited. So come on up. Come all the way up to standing and have the blocks at the front of your mat. Roll your shoulders. Shake it out. And then have your blocks on your mat, maybe at the second level if you've got them. If you don't have them, again, don't worry. And then nice deep hinge from your hips. I want you to take it down and let your hands rest on the blocks. Make sure your blocks are fully on your mat, because if they're half on, half off, they'll tip really easily. Press down into your blocks, soften your right knee, and step back about kind of a 3/4. And then drop your heel to the inside, but your foot's mostly forward. So the heel's just dropping slightly to the inside. That's what I'm trying to say. Just like we did earlier. And then check out the left hip again. What's it doing? Notice when the hip goes one way, the big toe lifts way off. And then draw the left hip back so that the hips feel pretty even with each other. Deep crease of that left hip. Your hands are on your blocks. Your legs start to squeeze toward each other. And both legs straight. Reach into your back leg. Squeeze through your front thigh, your front inner thigh. And here's where it gets a little tricky. Instead of having your hand on your block right under your shoulder, you're going to take that block right to the inside. We're going to start with that variation. Right to the inside of your left ankle. Left ankle, left foot is forward, left ankle. Breathe. And then draw your left ankle toward the block. Right? In other words, squeeze your thighs toward each other, just what we've been doing. Stabilize the legs. Start to look over your left shoulder. Take your hand to your left hip. Look to the left. And then consider, squeeze the legs toward each other. Consider taking the left arm up. It doesn't have to go up, right? Squeeze the legs, plant that big toe mound. Find your stability. And then try to take some of the effort out. And take that hand back down to your block. Forgot to mention something that might have been helpful. If you have two blocks, you can stack those blocks one on top of the other at their lowest levels for more stability. The higher up you go, the easier that twist is, right? And breathe. Good, bend your knee. And if you can, right, these blocks are kind of right in the middle, just step forward and step back. We're starting with a front knee that's bent. Your back foot is starting to line up for you and your ankle. Your hands are to your block. Your block is to the inside of your right ankle. I've got about an inch between the blocks and my ankle. And then I'm going to draw the ankle toward the blocks a little bit. It's really a stable foot. It's not it's not dropping in. My right hip draws back. The leg straightens. My hands on one block, two blocks, right? My right hand comes to my hip. I start to breathe, push into your back leg, everybody, and then squeeze the thighs toward each other as if you were going to cross your legs. When you're ready, if you're ready, take the right arm up. Breathe. I'm really reaching into my big toe because what I really want to do is lean to the outside of that foot. I'm trying to avoid that from a stability standpoint. Good, deep breath. Release that hand down. Woo. Just step forward. So you're straddling those blocks. And then come all the way up. Squeeze your butt. Good, we're gonna go one more time, slightly different optionally. Fun, fun, fun. All right, so go ahead and bend down, hands to your blocks, step back, right leg. It's that kind of 2/3 step. Toes are pointing mostly forward. Same thing we've been doing. Your front hip rolls back, your big toe mound presses in. Here's the option. One, you're gonna do exactly what we did before. You're just gonna work on that pose. So the hand stays inside, everything is like it was before. Option number 2, the blocks go to the outside ankle. And if you thought that was not a big deal, it's a big deal. I have both of my blocks stacked. So as I twist, for some reason, that little bit of shift in distance really messes with your balance a little bit. So place your right hand on the blocks, which are on the outside of your left ankle. Think twist, right? I'm deepening the crease of my left. I'm pushing my thighs toward each other, and I'm taking my left arm up. Reverse triangle. Whew. Breathe. All that twisting coming from your belly. Find your breath. Slowly release. See if you can come out. Woo. Bend your knees and step forward. Oh, come on up. Think about that, right? Pretty cool pose when you really break it all down. You don't need 2 blocks, by the way. If this is an easy pose from a balance standpoint, go to 1 block, go to no blocks, right? So when you're ready, right foot stays forward, left foot steps back. Keep your front knee soft for starters till you get your alignment. Draw the hips forward, and then deep hinge from that front hip, press into your back leg. Just take both hands to your block for a moment, just to get your stability as you straighten your front leg. Tone the belly, by the way. I haven't really said that a whole lot through this, but that's a pretty obvious thing. Once again, the blocks are either inside ankle or outside ankle. Your left hand goes to the blocks. Your right hand goes to your hips. Start to turn those shoulders, turn the ribs, think about it, right? My front foot keeps wiggling, and that tells me I've got to squeeze those thighs toward each other a little bit more, and then take the arm up, right? Nobody ever told me to squeeze my legs together, right? And in this pose, it makes sense, because as I do so, as I engage that inner line, there's the power, there's the stability, there's the center of the pose. Good. Slowly release. Oh, step forward. Bend your knees. Hands to knees. Come on. Wowie, wowie, wowie. Roll your shoulders. Good. Everybody just grab a block. Take it narrow, high as you can go. Squeeze the block. As high as you can go comfortably. Nice big squeeze. And let go of the squeeze. Optionally, you're going to do that one more time, or you're going to take it second width. I feel like I just got on a horse. Take it up as high as you can. Bring the feet parallel to each other. Squeeze the block. Just a little hip reset, everybody. Big deep breath. And release it. Take the block out. And I'm going to let you, in your most yogi way, come all the way down to the floor. Have a block nearby. Once you come down to your back, I want you to take the block wide as you can, right between your knees. Shoulders come down. Body starts to settle. And squeeze the block and let go. 2 more, just like that. Squeeze. You might feel a little soft pop of ligaments just getting back into alignment. And release. 1 more time, just a little squeeze. And release. Bring those knees to chest. Take the block out. Keep your right knee where it is. Stretch your left leg really long. Breathe. Maybe it's hovering an inch or 2 off the floor. Good, and then release the right foot to the floor. Inhale, reach the left leg up, externally rotate, come back to figure 4. Draw your knees to your chest. Maybe you notice a little difference in how this one feels compared to the other. Maybe you do little circles here. And then wrap one elbow around your ankle and the other one through the legs and near the knee, just so you're holding on like you would be holding on to a cord of wood. And then straighten your right leg again, almost to the floor. If that is just way too much, go to hands. If that's still way too much, go back to your figure 4. And then lower your right leg to the floor. Step your left leg over just enough to come into a twist. Just enough. Just breathe. And come back to center. Bend both knees. Bring your left knee to your chest, straighten your left or your right leg an inch or 2 off the floor. Just stretch it out. And then release the left foot to the floor. Lift your right leg up. Externally rotate the leg. Come to figure 4 on that side. Bring both knees to chest. Maybe little circles here, little wrap around the sacrum. That's it. And then bring it to center and grab that cord of wood or that leg. Straighten the left leg so it's hovering a couple of inches off the floor. Breathe. You'll notice as you play with the height of your long leg, it might change or stretch a little bit. And then lower that leg all the way to the floor. Let your right leg step across until you come into a twist on that side. Find your breath here. Soften it all down. And then bring that knee back to center. Bend both knees. Take your block, lowest setting, right under your sacrum. If you know that's not appropriate for you, in other words, you have high blood pressure that's not controlled, eye pressure issues, you don't want your head below your heart for too long. But make sure that block is nowhere near your low back. That should be solidly on that hard, bony sacrum, right? That beautiful triangle part of your spine. Bring your left knee to chest. Straighten your right leg long. Watch your low backs here. This shouldn't hurt. You don't have to hold your knee. You can let your hands rest. Just stretching the front, right, psoas and thigh. Soften it down, just breathe. One more deep breath here. And then slide your right heel up your mat until you're back knee to knee. Keep your right knee in, stretch your left leg long. Try to relax your feet. Let your left leg be heavy, no effort in here. This is just heavy gravity. And then slowly slide that heel up. Both knees come up. Make sure you are solidly on your blocks and optionally take the legs up to the ceiling. A little inversion here. Your hands can come down at your sides. You can palms face up. Your legs are just heavy enough so that you don't have to hold them up, right? Just north of your belly button. Maybe close your eyes, right? This is a weird version, if you think of a forward fold, but inversions are also very, very calming to the brain, to the body. This is one of my favorites because the legs don't really have to work. Another one, of course, legs up the wall. And then bend the knees. Bring those knees toward your chest. One foot to the floor, the other foot to the floor. Lift your hips, take the block out, just squeeze those hips for 1 second, one breath, and lower all the way down, and then straighten the legs. Palms are face up, or one hand to low belly, one hand to chest. As we come back to our breath, we come back to stillness. Finding our Shavasana. Let the arms be comfortable wherever they are. And just imagine the breath moving from the belly to the high belly, to the chest, all the way up to the collarbones. And then slowly descending down from chest to upper belly to low belly. Just imagine this slow wave of breath moving in and moving out again. Allow the shoulders to be heavy, the jaw slack. Imagine the deep pools of your eyes softly settling. I have this image of a lake. And we know that when we throw a pebble in the lake, that surface ripples out. But what we also know is that the deep is rarely disturbed by that pebble. So take your Shavasana deep where it is undisturbed. The thoughts are the ripples. Your breath brings you to the deep. Settle in. Go softer still. Bring your attention back. Start to wiggle your toes, your fingers, staying in Shavasana if you would like to do that. Maybe turn the head side to side. And as you are ready, bending one knee and then the other, drawing both knees to chest. Rocking side to side. Rolling over to one side, curling up into fetal pose. And then slowly coming up to your seated pose.